the same time is proof of person, and just general fairness. Uh, I'm trying to get together with 4 people or 6 people for a panel for a conference. I'm trying to get that many people's schedules to coincide has been a real nightmare. So part of the scheduling challenge is say it's fixed, and everyone's either able to make these times and be part of this fractal, or they find a fractal with a similar mission that meets at a time that's convenient for them. And then the 2 fractals can have mutual respect and reinforce each other. But that's the way we resolve the scheduling conflict. When you're trying to have 30 plus people involved, everyone's got conflict. And when it's random every week, statistically, it's going to be challenging for people to coordinate. And then there's the proof of person problem. Somebody, but that's fine. There's other ways to contribute. And as far as having a proxy attend on your behalf, I suppose if a community is okay with saying, hey, I'm here, I'm signed in as Dan. I'm not Dan, but I'm representing his work, and he's the one that's going to get the economic benefit of anything that's happening. I see no reason why a community couldn't allow that, as long as they like double, triple check that Dan wasn't. I don't know. There's some potential problems there, but effectively, it takes one real person. That real person would be given up their opportunity to contribute, because they're representing Dan. They can't represent themselves in that particular meeting. And I don't know, there's a lot to consider there about allowing stand-ins for you as a person. I think I'm inclined to say, well, if you can't attend, then no stand-in for you, and someone else can take your place, and they can represent themselves, and they can say, yeah, I'm here, I'm representing myself, 100% of everything I'm doing, I'm giving to Dan, and they can say, that's my contribution. I can verify, yes, they have done that contribution. They're still making the decisions. You're trusting them to do that. They're not standing in for me. They're representing themselves, forwarding it to me. And I think that's probably a better way to handle situations where there's a representative. Because I think that also speaks to the accountability. Is that really Dan? Or is that someone claiming to be Dan, using his account? So that's a problem.
Okay, so for discussion for now only.
Yes, yeah, it's a consideration. Everything that comes up, we have to look at all the ways it can be attacked and whether or not there's a simple way to handle it within the basic rules. We want it to be like an ant colony, simple rules that have complex emergent behavior. That's going to be the most resilient evolutionary, compared to a fragile system where we try to have a rule and feature for every case, and that just multiplies the complexity of the code and interactions, and also the attack area on the system. The more customizations you have, the more opportunities for people to combine things in just the right way to attack the system. I see James over there nodding his head. He was a big advocate for keeping things simple and consistent from small scale to large scale this week. So I want to throw props to him for constantly looking to minimize the number of variables in the system.
All right, in about 5 minutes, we're going to go into our breakout rooms. Hope you guys are ready and have some fun.
Yeah, so since officially the meetings start at 11, I guess I'll wait till 11:15. We should be interesting to discuss whether or not as a group we can't just break out into a earlier, because if people check in, but there needs to be a consistent time frame and cutoff. So we'll be consistent, even though I personally would benefit from starting 5 minutes earlier. In case some of you missed it earlier at the start, 40 minutes ago, I went over some new terms and definitions. It was recorded. Hopefully it'll be posted, but I'll review that in the 5 minutes we have here unless anyone has any questions. If you have any questions, raise your hand and I'll take that. I want to introduce some refined terminology. I've got a one-pager I'm putting together to kind of summarize the consensus process here today. A full member is a member who has at least 2/3 of the past 12 weekly meetings. A junior member is anyone who's attended less than 2/3 of the past 12 weekly meetings. The importance of these definitions is that a team is a group of people who have at least 4 full members appointed and an appointed team lead. That is required to have a standing team. A council is a group of at least 3 and no more than 12 team leads. If there are more than 12 team leads, then the teams whose members cumulatively weekly level is the greatest will be the ones that are chosen. I want to introduce the use of the word level rather than rank. Level 1 gets 1 respect, level 6 gets 13 respect. Higher levels means higher contributions. Rank is sometimes confusing because you think I'm number 1, I'm ranked number 1. People get that inversion. So terminology wise, I'm using level as what we're going to be on level 6, then level 5, then level 4, and then so forth. So I went over the proposal process for councils. They can propose any action to change community consensus. They define the community consensus in effect, and they can do so with a proposal with, I saw that hand, I was going to get to you in a second, so please keep your hand up if you have a question. And after 2 weeks, then it's automatically approved unless the veto council rejects it. The veto council consists of the highest level individuals from the current week. All right, Mockingbird.
I believe an area that causes confusion is the tallying of points.
In the accounting of points?
Tallying total points over weeks, months.
Oh, sorry, with respect to the selecting of council members or teams?
Well, however, the points might be used. Once we move over to how many points have you had over the past few weeks, months, or whatever, I think that's the ultimate point of confusion, is that these, what we earn, we don't just earn respect in numbers, we also earn levels in numbers or points.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there's some audio issues on my end, so I had a hard time following that. But yes, there is confusion, and there's a spreadsheet now that sort of you can refer to what's going on currently, and we'll be providing additional clarity. That's why we write smart contracts, to remove that confusion. So the purpose of these refinements compared to last week was to have one process that supports communities as small as 12 and as large as 7,000 seamlessly without having special rules in the interim. And so last week I introduced like, how are we going to make a decision on the logo? And that was a, ad hoc one-time thing for the small community. With this new process that we're refining, this is how we're going to do that. Keep in mind the purpose of the consensus rounds is that any community can reach a new consensus at any time on anything. We can completely change the entire process by calling a special meeting, kind of like a constitutional convention, where we use this process focused entirely on making just one particular decision. But obviously, you can't make all decisions. So we have these other optimizations. Let's go ahead and go to the breakout rooms. Thank you guys very much.
All right, the rooms are open. Have fun, everyone.
Hey everyone.
Hey, what's up?
Good to see you all. I am recording, by the way, and planning to share on social media at some point soon. And it's nice to meet you, Chris, and also Eric. I've been following your work a lot with Eric, and what you've been talking about the pizza place, which sounds really cool.
Excited about that. Mockingbird, what happened to your face? Oh, there you are.
Hey guys, I believe I've been in meetings with all of you. Felix and Dan, it seems like every week.
That's true. I feel like we've been
Might
in
need
more
to
meetings
look
than
at-
that. I'm sorry, what's
Might
that?
need to look at the last few weeks and mix it up.
Yeah, maybe Joshua's been rigging it or something. So who would like to go first or share your contributions to Fractally? Or would anybody like to lead anything else?
I'll jump in. I'm swamped with some stuff. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I think so.
All right, real quick. There's a dedicated Fractally section in the US Weekly. For the past few weeks, I've been writing sort of promo, sort of recreational, but on topic articles on Hive to spread the word about Fractally, what it is, and get people to join. I did get one official new joinee over the past 10 days, I think. I'm in chats, Fractally in Eden. Well, it's actually a meeting now, official. And several other chats that deal with Fractally, including the EOS Foundation team, the translation team, ETF, EOS Translation Foundation, which I joined a couple of weeks ago as a team. And I'll pass it over to Felix. Oh, I ranked, I think at 3 points, I ranked level 3, well, rank 4 last week, I believe. I'm not sure of that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, but it's quiet.
Thank you. Better now?
Yeah, it's better. It's still a bit low if you can raise it, I think. I'm not sure if it's just me, but it sounds a little bit quiet to me.
Okay. Well, just let me know if it needs to be better.
It's okay.
You're good. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Yeah. So, my contributions for this last week has been more on the Eden Fractal side. So, Dancing Joy and I, we've been doing the Eden Town Hall show. We've been talking about the Eden Fractal there. We had our second Eden Fractal meeting on Wednesday, 13 UTC. So I guess this past, before our Eden, or I'm trying to think, I think actually so this last Sunday, our last Eden Town Hall show that we had, we talked about the chief delegates with things that are going on with Eden, basically transitioning the keys. Try to promote that to get them to hold that ceremony event on the Eden Fractal on Wednesday. I guess that didn't go through, but we had a good turnout on the Eden Fractal. So it's exciting because we're taking these processes over over from here, and we're applying it over on Eden. So, I encourage. I know, both Dan and Mockingbird. We've been we're over at the Eden Fractal. So if we welcome everybody from this fractally Genesis. I think too it will be interesting to form a team with the Eden Fractal and then start to get that mutual respect over here on Fractally. But yeah, so that's where my contributions have been. It's been more on promoting the Fractally mechanisms over on the Eden Fractal, and then making the Eden Town Hall show. We haven't produced fine content. We're just recording it and we're posting it for now. But the idea is to get that a little bit more refined on highlights and activities going on with Eden. But Fractally is it synergizes right there with the Eden Fractal. So. But yeah, so that was my contributions, and then so I'm gonna pass it over to Chris. I haven't. This is the first time I've been with you, so it's nice to meet you. I've been in the room with everybody else, but yeah. So I'm gonna pass it over to Chris.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, I guess this past week my contributions have been pretty minimal. I guess the only thing I can really do is outreach, and I've been grooming one individual. We've been discussing this past week just about the concept of fractal governance. I had him read the white paper. He seems to be pretty interested. And right before the meeting today, I was chatting with him and he was unable to make it today, but next Saturday he'll be here and I'll onboard him prior and get him all set up with everything. And so my whole contribution is basically just focusing on this one individual, get them onboarded. And it's about, and I came here to just help reach consensus, and I guess last week I was ranked 2. I guess they're switching that up now. Second from the bottom. All right. If there's any more questions I can answer. Thank you.
Level 2.
If you don't mind, I would be curious just to hear a bit more about yourself. I think I saw on the tallies or whatever that Gregory puts out that it looks like you've only attended a couple meetings so far. So I would be curious. I'm not sure if I misread that. Sorry if I did. But I'd be just curious to learn just like a brief introduction to yourself and then how you joined the group and stuff.
Well, I think this is like my 5th
Okay.
meeting. Well, about myself, I mean, I don't know what to know. Well, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I'm a web developer, not blockchain, but more as a hobby and some freelance work. I was in the United States Army as a signals intelligence analyst. So that's what kind of got me involved in the blockchain, cryptography and that sort of stuff. And with Fractally, I've been following the EOS community for a couple of years now, and I keep track of all the projects. And I just read the white paper when Dan released it. It seemed interesting, and that's how I joined this. At this point, I'm not a developer working on this project. I guess my only contributions could be outreach, educating other people. And I've been thinking of other things I can do, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's considering this is more like a voluntary thing for me. I got my real life to focus on, and when I got time, try to think of other ways to contribute, which is quite difficult.
In writing a newsletter for over a year, I believe your perspective is a big one moving forward. Definitely.
Is there anything else? I don't know what to say. I'm kind of not used to being on camera. I'm kind of a introvert, shy person. And this has kind of helped me in that regard the past month or so, getting on these meetings.
Yeah, and hey, showing up is a good contribution in itself. It forms a community. If nobody showed up, we wouldn't have this. So,
well, that's just it. Like even if I didn't contribute, anything, just showing up and helping reach consensus amongst people that have contributed. I could see the importance in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Chris. It's nice to meet you, and thanks for joining and sharing your contributions and stuff.
Oh, and also my birthday is today.
And happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I like your setup too. I haven't seen anybody hold a microphone before. You have that, and you have the cool background too. I like it. It looks good.
Oh, there's a webcam. I mean, there's a microphone connected to this webcam. I don't know.
That just for
I'm
visual
kind of
effects.
I'm kind of into music production, so I got all this equipment. I might as well use it.
Oh, awesome! Cool. I'm into music production too. Maybe some point we can.
No, I'm terrible.
Okay, I'm also very much learning about music production as well.
Who goes next, Chris?
You, Eric.
All right. Hey guys, nice to meet you, Chris. Happy birthday. So I continue to drill down onto how this tool set can be applied to governance within the pizza concept that my wife and I started. And I started to think about at some point maybe pivoting and becoming an IT governance concept versus just a pizza shop. And so pizza is just the first template that this would be applied to. That's who knows when, but I've been in conversations with, not conversations, I sent an email to Gregory and Mike on the Fractal team, and Gregory responded with a really nice long email. So I'm digesting that, and I guess I'm deeply interested in this governance process. I am following the Eden, I'm an Eden member, but I'm deeply interested in learning. I'm here because of that. And I believe that governance is very tricky, and Pareto is real. Capture and concentration of wealth and power is real. And how do you build resilient, unstoppable communities? How do you let the vision and the values flow down and back up from the least of those that are contributing each day and week? So those for us are the pizza makers, the cashiers, the drivers that show up. And I'm encouraged that there's some hard questions that they came back with me. So because we're not a co-op, we're not a DAO, it's going to be actually very difficult to transition to that, but it's possible. And thinking about public goods and how personal private owned business could then transition, probably it can't. It's more likely that we would pivot and use the concepts and the strategies to then, like I said, maybe make a template that other SMEs or other co-ops or groups could then leverage, that would be based on the tech and the governance processes that are being promoted here. And I guess I'm super encouraged by Dan's, Marco, you put that in the chat about the simplicity, because that removes all the complexity of the tech stack, and it allows for just that pure consensus and that pure governance, which could happen 100 years ago, or can happen today. And I'm joining you guys from the middle of the Caucasus, Tbilisi, Georgia. And we don't need Starlink like the Ukrainians do, but thank God we don't. But who knows? I mean, life is always seems a bit on the edge sometimes around here. So anyways, nice to join you guys. I'm also just happy to be part of the consensus mechanism. I ranked number 3 last time, or I was level number 3. I'm gonna get used to saying I was level number 3. I leveled up to 3.
Eric, your take on governance is soothing, like your voice. I gotta ask, did you communicate any of that in chat? Did you publish anything or make any development contributions for Fractally this week?
I just don't have time for that. We're remodeling,
Just asking.
bringing standards into our business. I'm full out, just nonstop. We got 86 people, and we're remodeling our second busiest store right now. And I'm absolutely flat out on that stuff. And
I'd give you credit for being in Telegram chat.
so I'm here. I think an hour per week. It doesn't matter if it was in the middle of the night. It's evening here now. It's 8:30 or whatever it is, 8 something evening. But 1 hour to jump on and to learn. I remember thinking of back when Google was just a search window, right? Or just a search engine competing against Netscape and those guys. And then it became a tool set of like Gmail or Google, email, right? And then now
I was through there. Yeah.
now it's a full suite of all kinds of tools. And
Yeah,
I
I'm back in
think-
the AOL disk era.
exactly. So I think I see the same trajectory happening here, or potential, and we're 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 so early, and it's hard to know how it's going to actually integrate and revolutionize and disrupt industries, but certainly has the potential. I think for good. That's what I think that's why I've stuck around this space, because I see integrity with Dan and his approach to these deeply difficult, they're called wicked problems in design. Wicked problems are difficult to solve. And so when you have a wicked problem of governance, that's tough. And he's got some really amazing ideas. Remember we were going to do a picnic, and I wanted to do the cards, pass out the cards and do the fractal process. It wasn't called fractal at that point. It was called political playoffs, I think, from the Eden, from his book. And so, but we didn't get around to that because of COVID and all that. So, but here I am. It's nice to be here. So Dan, you're last but not least.
Sure, sounds good. Thank you, Eric. And yeah, as I mentioned before, I've been following your work with the pizza business. I remember I was watching your TikTok channel. I saw you shared you had like many millions of views and stuff, and you had some
They're
cool
killing
pizza
it.
making
Yeah,
videos.
it's not me, to be honest. It's my team, and they're just killing it. It's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are they still doing it now? Last time I saw it was like 2 months ago or so. Is the channel still growing?
Yeah, they had one that just blew up worldwide, and it was actually the first out of the Republic of Georgia. And then recently they're starting to get momentum again, like a couple millions of views. And I'm on Twitter. I've responded to Trimbot, and but I just again, it's the time. Like, I'm concerned with the war in Ukraine, and so I spend a lot of time just kind of reading that news and staying up to date what's going on there, because we're on. If there's a list in Putin's office, we're like number 2. Georgia's number 2 on that list. So I sometimes think about that. And so anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. No worries at all. And thank you for sharing your perspective very much. So, yep. I am I'm Dan Singjoy, in case you're not familiar, and this week I've been working a lot on the Eden Fractal with Felix and Marco and probably about 20 other Eden members. We started this over the past couple weeks. We kind of just launched into it, and there's a website here you can learn more at edenfractal.com. It's just kind of a basic website that I put together, and we can improve it over time and so forth. But basically it's a way that Eden members can, or just anybody really, can help Eden and help EOS, and also earn EOS from their work. I've been with an organization I started called Eden Creators. I've been donating 100 EOS per week for 5 weeks. So there's that, and then we also accounting for respect, just like we're doing here with the Genesis Fractally, and then just a great way to just bring together the community for that. And so that's that, edenfractal.com, and that was kind of set up a couple weeks ago. I've just been making minor updates. This week we sent out the first payments, and I made a tweet here at the Eden Fractal Twitter account, just showing it and then kind of promoting it and tagging everybody and showing the Blocks account and so forth. So that's a cool way to promote it. And there's a lot of people who like that and retweeted it. There's some people like Eden on EOS Quebec and Doug Wu who retweeted it, and then I just retweeted everybody who was like supporting it and so forth. I also, because Joshua expressly wasn't interested in hosting anymore, so I figured somebody had to host it. So I got a Zoom account, and I put together a presentation, like a keynote presentation, just to quickly just share like how it works in the beginning, or kind of provide some structure and so forth. So I did that. The event was very successful. It was really exciting. There was 18 people who attended, 50% more than the first meeting, and we had some really great discussions that you can check out. I uploaded here, and then also Patrick from Newer Crypto uploaded it as well on his channel, and then I also retweeted that. So that was cool seeing your room. Felix was in there, and Marco was in one of those rooms too, I believe. And then also I retweeted Patrick. He donated 500 EOS to the Eden Fractal very generously, so retweeted that, and that'll help expand fractally on EOS. And then I also retweeted Felix, made a bunch of great tweets too about the Eden Fractal event, and also he retweeted the earnings, so I retweeted that. And then Felix also tweeted about the Eden Town Hall, which I co-hosted with Felix, and we had some great discussions there. A lot of it was about Fractal, Eden Fractal and so forth, and I put the video up. And then also I shared the Everything EOS weekly report, which I wrote quite a bit of, to feature a bunch of stories, but including the Eden Fractal meeting. So wrote this story about Eden Fractal to help just spread the word, kind of put it together quickly. But there's that. And then also I think I already shared this one. I retweeted Felix's things, and I just had that duplicate. Sorry about that. And then I was just also working on just like setting up the MSIG so we can decentralize it for the Eden Fractal, because I got the Fractal account, but I want to make it, you know, as decentralized as possible. So I was working with James Mard and a bunch of people, and then also working on just like the correct formatting and stuff for the rankings to make sure the payments get set out properly. And then I also briefly featured it on the EOS Hot Sauce, which I host every week. I just featured it for like 15 seconds. And I also spoke about the Eden Fractal and Fractally a bit on EOS Support with Charles Bishop. He started a new show, which is really cool. And then I also spoke about Eden Fractal and Fractally a bit on the Helios Twitter Spaces that they did yesterday. And so that's every Wednesday at 13 UTC. As Felix was saying, everybody's welcome to attend, and it'd be great to see you all there. You can earn EOS, NFTs, and Eden Respect. Oh, and then one other thing is I started working a little bit on like fractal tutorials, because Jorge Sapiens asked me basically how I do like these presentations on my screen, and so this is something I've been meaning to do to help share these tools so everybody can do this if they want to share different kinds of presentations. So I just kind of put together some basic instructions that I haven't shared yet, but I'm just kind of trying to put these together. There's Sapiens message right there, so I can share that and help people I guess level up their video production if they're interested. And then I also started working on just like a little blog post that I kind of stopped doing, but Dario asked, is there a place where everybody can see the Eden Fractal contribution? So I started just collecting like everything and thinking maybe I'll do like a weekly blog post. I don't know if I have capacity for that, but I feel like it's a good idea at some point to do a weekly blog post for Fractally and Eden Fractal and stuff like that. So that was an idea there. And then I also just retweeted Dan's tweets about Fractally related stuff as well. And that's that. Thank you. Sorry if that was long. I didn't have my timer on, but I hope you enjoyed. And yep, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody so much. And hey, Andrew. Good to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
Going
Right,
well.
I showed up late, but I was still invited to a breakout room, so I said yes, accept.
Okay, cool.
Better late than never.
Yep, I'm happy you could make it, and you came just in time to present your contributions too, Andrew.
All right, I did not prepare anything, but I guess I will share real quick. So I haven't. I guess what have I done? So I went to the. So I went to the Fractally Eden meeting, or the. I don't know what you want to call it, if it's a Fractally on EOS or Fractally Eden, whichever one. And we were sort of at the end of that talking about trying to brainstorm proposals. And so I put together a proposal and posted it. I can check real quick. The proposal was basically for Eden to, or sort of like a combination of. Sorry, let me actually find this real quick. I'm a little tired this morning. Apologize.
It's all good. I saw a proposal, by the way, that you shared in the proposals chat that Felix set up, and looked really interesting and well thought out.
Yeah, I just want to. Okay, so yeah, the basic idea is using. I was sort of thinking about what the benefits are of each blockchain, and EOS has some benefits in that it's like the super fast, single-threaded, very scalable, and it's also got a lot of liquidity, which is pretty important if you want to create a whole ecosystem that plugs into the rest of the world. So what I was thinking is essentially fractally and EOS could both benefit from sort of collaborating, but less collaborating and more just kind of opening up liquidity pools and stuff like that between them. So that was basically my proposal, or sort of the rough outline of it. And let's see, last week I was ranked 2. No, yes, 2. Power level 2. I was level 2. That's I saw a post in the Go Fractally group talking about level versus rank. For clarification, that's second from the bottom. So that was my rank last week. And what's the other thing I gotta share? Oh, I didn't invite anybody, but I'll put some effort in that. Yeah, and that's it for me. Suppose I could popcorn it, but I don't know who has gone yet.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, everybody's gone. So now we have, I suppose, 19 minutes or so to reach consensus and ask each other questions and so forth. I was wondering, Marco, who did you invite? You said that they attended today?
Verna, I believe he or she joined from maybe one of the articles. It's not someone I'm familiar with. And I checked when we first had logged on, there was about 24 members. Verna was not one of them that I could tell. But it is listed as a new member on my Fractally account. And I believe it was maybe 8 days ago. I'm not sure exactly when. So I don't know who this person is actually, but I have been putting a join link in the Hive and EOS Weekly sections with intros, a little bit of what Fractally is and some stuff that's happened in the newsletter, including Eden Fractally. And then I take a lot more liberal approach to the Hive articles and get a little creative, fun with it. Also informative, centered around the idea of what fractal governance might mean. But trying to bridge the old world thought with blockchain thought and then fractal thought. Usually presenting some sort of use case for today and possibility for the future. And then there's just a join link. I believe that's where I got the person from. I haven't sent any other links on those two.
Okay, cool. Thanks for explaining, and yeah, thank you for writing those articles. It's very helpful to spread the word. Just to be clear, because there's a bit of background noise. So, one, you said their name was Verna, and then 2, you said that they joined the Go Fractally site, but they're not actually in this meeting, or you're not aware of it?
Don't know. I don't know if they joined the meeting later. I initially checked around 11:40 when we had about 24 members. I didn't see them there.
Okay, cool. And you said their name was Verna?
I sent a hello, welcome, but I don't believe they responded yet.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you. So how should we proceed? Should we start submitting consensus and do the Zoom chat thing and start with 6? Or does anybody want to ask questions or have any other way in mind to proceed?
Um, I believe that fractally team, their developers, deserve the most respect. However, 2 months ago, maybe well, even 2 months ago, there was so much um, being lobbied onto the fractally team that I thought it might overweight the balance of respect. So I had said if a fractally team member had gotten six the week before, maybe not voting them six the following week. And then if they didn't get six the week before, to vote them six. And hate to point the finger at Dan Singjoy, but every week he gets six. So I said it to the guy, Gregory, who gets it every week, deservingly. And deservingly, Dan deserves it most weeks for the purpose of distributing respect tokens. I'll put that out there.
Uh,
Um,
oh, I'm not sure if you're done, but I was going to respond quickly, saying that one, I'm not sure if I misunderstood, but I'm not on the fractally team. I mean, I'm helping a lot with fractally, but I'm not officially on the fractally team. I also don't get ranked 6 every week. I think that for the past, I don't know, 5 weeks or so, I've been ranked like 4, 3. I was ranked 3 once, 5 quite a bit. So I was ranked 6 quite a bit in the past, although it's certainly not every week. And then, yeah, I'd also be happy to rank other people 6 because I see lots of amazing contributors here. And so,
oh, sorry. What's your account number? I got yours confused with Dan.
oh yeah. So
Sorry about that.
my account name is Dan Singjoy on Hive. On EOS, it's Dan, and Dan Lammer
Yeah, I
has.
wear glasses for a reason. No, you're right. You're right. I
Okay.
get that.
Yeah, so Dan Lammer gets ranked 6 pretty much every week, most weeks, and he's ranked on the top. And he's also on the faculty team. And then I have the same EOS account name, but yeah, it's a little bit confusing for that reason.
Oh, nice.
I was thinking of maybe asking Dan Lammer to change his name to John or something. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah,
How many
here,
of you
I
guys
just
saw?
highlighted the.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I'm gonna post real quick so we can see everyone's respect tally.
That's actually super helpful.
Yes.
Did anyone see the logo that I presented in Genesis Fractally?
Yeah, that was cool. It says potential security issue detected with Zoom. I think that's just it looks like an Affinity photo file, but
I think the security issue is because it's an Adobe Illustrator file, not AI.
okay, I don't have that application. But is that the same logo you shared in the Genesis Fractally chat? I saw that
Yeah,
one.
Genesis Fractally. I dropped a photo there, and I didn't really love the logo, to be honest, and I dropped that in there just as a quick mock-up, and I was kind of surprised nobody really responded except Marcos. I think you said something positive.
I said something about the one Dan Signore has on his website as far as originality and impact of the people holding hands and the kind of 3D overview sort of thing. Really nice job. Best alternative to the original Fractally logo that I've seen by far.
Thanks. Although I'm not sure which logo you're talking about. Are you talking about the Eden Fractal logo or something?
You're scrolling through. It says Eden Fractal members slide. Holding hands from top down. I couldn't see yours, Eric, and when you posted, it wouldn't open.
I'm gonna see if I can just save it as a PNG or something like that, and then drop it in there.
Yeah, that'd be more
And it
accessible.
looks like we got
What's on?
12 minutes
Yeah, we
to
should.
come to consensus.
So let's do rapid fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I would propose we don't vote for ourselves as an option. So we think of others when we do it, but again, total option.
Okay. I'm happy to do that, or happy to do it, or happy to do it otherwise. Does everyone
Real
prefer?
quick, I I apologize for this because it's my fault for coming in late, but I think I have an idea of what everyone did. But Chris, could you just share real quick what you contributed this week, or what your contribution is?
Nothing.
Okay, just showing up.
Well, no, I mean, I have been grooming some person to join, and they'll be here next Saturday. So my contribution is trying to recruit somebody, but it hasn't yielded any results yet until next week.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing, despite having already shared. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm all ready to do the consensus stuff.
Okay.
Apologize for the hold up there.
Cool. Sounds good. No worries. So do we want to go with Marcus' proposal to have it where we'll vote one at a time, but we won't vote for ourselves?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I tried to do that in the last, at the Eden Fractal, and we didn't all reach a consensus on that. So it is good to be clear. So I think, yeah. So we're gonna vote, but we're not including ourselves. We're gonna exclude it from the vote, unless anyone disagrees with that.
So does that mean no abstaining, right? You have to vote for someone.
You have to vote for somebody. Yeah, it'd be against the rules not to.
So I guess, yeah. And then also another thing I think to fix this method is sometimes people are like, whoever leads it, they're like, all right, count down. Like, okay, everyone should just type it in. Everyone's ready. Then we'll do the countdown. Because sometimes I do the countdown and then some people don't have it typed in yet. So I guess let's go ahead and type in level 6.
I find it difficult to rank anybody.
Yes.
Because I mean, there's a lot of contributions people have made, but it's like specifically to fractally, it's like I mean, people are contributing to a bunch of different things, and I don't know if it relates to what, I don't know.
Think of it as
I'll just go with what anybody else says. Put me at the bottom.
Think of it as a talent scout. You're voting for who's going to be best for the fractally future. What they did today. What they did today is best for the future as a talent scout or something. Don't take it personally. We're not supposed to anyway.
Yep.
I take everything personal.
And I think that's good to keep in mind too is that it's never going to be fair every week or in any week. It's bound to be unfair. But Dan Larimer has explained like an interesting perspective that we're kind of like a scientific measuring machine, just trying to measure contributions. So it is best to try to discern why somebody's contributions would receive a higher level or rank rather than abstaining. So definitely try to figure out some way to rank people. I can definitely say that more eloquently, but I think you understand my point. I hope.
So I've got mine typed in. Everyone have theirs typed in for 6.
Ready to go.
Yes.
I'm not quite. Give me a second.
Okay.
All right, now I'm ready.
Reload.
Good. All right, I'm gonna do the countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so we got.
Oh,
3 for
that's
Dan.
interesting. That's really interesting. Not even 2 the same.
We do have 2 for Dan. It looks like.
Okay.
You got 3 for Dan.
Do we?
No.
I think there's only 5
Lion
votes, isn't there?
Flashers.
Someone didn't vote.
Oh, my bad. I had a direct message. Mine went. Marco can confirm there's a direct message to Marco.
Is that what you?
That's funny. That's why we had different numbers. That makes sense.
It went to everyone.
I would personally be happy to back Dan as Power 6.
Power 6.
Okay.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
Cool. Thank you. Honored to be Power 6.
Okay, so Dan's number 6. So number 5. Everyone type in number 5. Give a thumbs up when you're decided. Okay, cool. All right, here we go. 3,
Okay. It looks like Felix has 3 of 5, or 3 of 6, I think, and so I'm happy to change my vote to Felix.
It's like Marco got 2 and Felix got 2, right?
I think Felix got
Felix got
3,
three.
Marco got 2, and then
That's fine.
Eric got 1. So if I change from Eric to Felix, I think that gives Felix 4, right?
Or if everyone just turns everyone to me, then I get number 5.
This is true.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, I told you, I like your governance style. He did it with a smile.
I mean, so I think that Felix is definitely worthy. 5, he's been doing great work. The reason why I voted for Eric, he's also doing great work, and I think also I mean, one, you have less like total respect, so I took that into account a bit, and then 2, I think that like with the amount of time that you're able to use to it, like I think Felix is spending a lot more time and doing a lot more work with fractally and the Eden fractal, which is really valuable. So it was a very difficult decision, but I also think that you bring a huge amount of value in terms of just your positive attitude and like the logo and everything you've been doing for the past months and years as I've been following you. And then also I think that like the potential that you can have with bringing this business and like you have a lot of people working together on this business. You can maybe help innovate for people to use fractally in the future. I think that's valuable, but I'm happy to vote for Felix now as well.
Sounds good. I'm happy with that.
I don't believe we're allowed to vote for potential, otherwise I would vote for Eric too. And when I asked before, I didn't realize that that was your logo that I saw in chat. Yeah, go fractally. I like the little shadow in the line that crosses over. That adds a lot to it. Doesn't seem it's a small change. But
A little bit of nod to Google's sort of flat design approach.
Okay, so we have like 3 or 4 minutes left. So we're consensus on Felix has 5, correct? And we'll do number 4 now. Okay.
All right. 3, 2. Oh, well, I didn't count.
You didn't say go.
Yeah, well, Marco said so I stopped the count. I didn't know.
Yeah, I thought it was already decided it was Dan, Felix, and then me. What number are we on to?
We're on to 4, and we hadn't made a decision.
Man, we're tied, Marco.
Okay.
Who has the least amount of points? Was Marco?
Dan is 1. Who's 2? Or Dan is 6. Who's 5?
Felix.
Felix.
Yep. No, we only have 3 minutes, so we should do this fairly quickly.
So
I made like
4 right now. We're I guess 2-way tie between Marco and Eric. So, anyone wants to switch votes, or if the 2 of you guys want to talk it out, and then kind of lean us
Whoever
one
has
way.
the least points, I'm happy. If Marco has less points than I didn't see that file actually.
currently Marco has 79 total respect, and Eric has 23 total respect.
Oh, I think you guys should give it to me.
That's the rank points, right? Not the respect token.
That's the respect tally. And that's what Felix did. So that's the respect tally. The actual rank is different, but I agree with what Eric is saying. I think that Eric is like a huge asset, but I've already made my case. So I'd be curious to hear what others think.
I can go for either Eric or Andrew.
Yeah, I'm fine with going with Eric too. I do like Marco's contributions. You know, I see him in the Eden Fractal also. So I mean, he has showed up quite a bit too. But you know, it is tough. It's getting to that part where we're like splitting hairs. So I'm fine with Eric as well.
Marco's articles actually brought me to the EOS community, so
Oh, really? Love hearing that.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I say EOS instead of EOS, even though I learned from Zach. Go EOS.
Okay, so I think we have 1 minute left now.
Are we going for 4?
All right, someone drop in the list then. Where are we at?
Yeah.
I think what Chris put there is, or wait, that has Eric. So I personally think 1 or 2 is around where I rank. I was here late, so I think I guess do you want to go over the rest of them, or should we go one by one the rest of them?
We only have a minute left, so whatever we do, we have to do it quick, or else nobody gets anything.
Okay, I would say personally, Marco, myself, Chris, or no, get a little bit of consensus back and forth there.
Someone drop a list in there, like
Yeah, the list of the addresses in the thing.
Okay, we have 60 seconds left, and this is just, by the way, not addresses, but this is just what I think Andrew proposed that I'm happy with, if everybody's happy with.
Someone have an address for that list? I'll load it up.
Does anybody have any last seconds disagreements with this, or is this list good for everybody?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
functionality should be factored in.
I think that's fair. I'm happy to take the first.
Okay,
We can switch those last two.
that makes sense.
I'm only saying that because I don't want to be
Yeah.
at the bottom.
We do need the addresses, though.
Okay, sounds good. So Chris is above Andrew then, right?
Mhm.
In the last.
I don't care either way.
Okay.
I'll give him a
But I do agree with that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, this is like the last second thing. So great
Yeah.
stuff. And thanks everybody. Great meeting you. Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the main room. If you want to, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to just raise your hand. This is the post meeting. I'll put the link one more time where you need to put your consensus results. You want to, if you're new, especially, you want to. Hopefully your group helped you along a little bit. If you have any questions, you can message me privately here in Zoom. But the blog post that I just published, you want to copy and paste the consensus results. I see, Patrick, you're posting one that doesn't have the @ symbol in it, so that's not correctly formatted. So it would have the @ symbol, the username, the comma, a space, @ symbol, username, comma, space. And somebody in your group hopefully gave you the correctly formatted thing, and you're going to comment on the blog post with your testimony, basically, of the consensus from your group. Jason's reminding us in the chat, please post your consensus results to the blog post. Post here won't be counted for consensus. So here in the Zoom chat, he's talking about, but you can post here as well as the redundancy. Okay, Doug.
Yeah, I just wanted to say two things. Number one, I think I got you all beat and having fun. I love this whole experience, and I'm having the time of my life with it. And I'm learning so much. So I just wanted to say that. That's Dan's rule number one for me. Number two, second new person now who has gone through the breakout room meeting with no Hive account. First one was Samara. Second one now is Daniel. I love Daniel. I love the new people. I love the new energy. And I want to know, can we get him trained and voted and registered within a certain window of time, or do we just drop him from the, like, just a 5-person deal?
Yeah, I mean, technically you have 1 hour to figure it out if you can.
Well, he wanted to watch Top Gun. He's willing to cancel it, and I'm willing to Zoom with him. And actually, I set up a Jitsi meetup that I might try to experiment with if anyone wants to join or help out, or I even consider live streaming it. But I don't want to publish keys live or something like that.
Yeah, I can even create a breakout room.
Well, let's not worry about that. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, if you want, I can create a breakout room, and Daniel and anyone who wants to assist can go to that room.
I think that would be great. Yeah, I think he would appreciate that. Yeah.
I'll work on that. Go ahead, Matt.
I agree. I think I'm tied with you for having fun. So I'm not sure you're having the most fun. I think I am. I would really like to know from the room that Dan Larimer was in, if they reached consensus. I'd like to know what happened. I'd be fascinated to know. I think that's a great part of this whole experiment.
Yeah, we did reach consensus. Thank you. And how could be summarized as quick set of rules that we established. That is, Dan had a recommendation / request and then went away, and we worked with that. And that original request changed quite a bit. So the team took ownership and came to consensus in a way that I think other folks from that breakout room could comment on now if they like. Is unexpected and very interesting. That's Stan, Oscar, Pascal, and David. And I'm missing one. Forgive me, but step forward and speak to it.
Okay, I set up a breakout room and it's open if anyone wants to jump in there. Daniel, if you want to jump in there as well. Would appreciate anyone that is able to help him out. And if you're new and you're having issues with your Hive account or signing that contributor agreement, you can go into that room as well.
So I can say something about the process that we used to reach quick consensus in the room Dan was in. So I'm a rather new participant in the fractally experiment, and so I asked if everyone could. So we went around the table for every vote level, for every rank level, and I asked that everyone add a rationale to their vote suggestion, 1 sentence, 2 sentence, because I didn't have a lot of information on what everyone's contribution meant. So I wanted to get that group intelligence to increase. And then also I asked if we could, after everyone said their rationale and their suggestion, if we could take another round around the table so everyone can change their vote so that they can take into account what they just heard and how others rate and evaluate the contributions from their perspective. And we tried that out. And for me, that worked quite well. I got a lot of information and I was able to rate more, based on more information and more facts, basically. So.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you, David. Okay, I'm going to call on people in order of what I see in the participants list. So right now, first I see Oscar.
Yes, you see, I was in the same room with Dan. And we did find a consensus that might surprise you all, because he did have a request at the beginning, which was ranking him level 5 because of his urgency to leave the breakout room. However, it was my point of view, which I shared with the other guys in the breakout room, and they later on found consensus in it too, which was he consistently ranks level 6 or level 5. And part of this experiment was, or the possibility that this experiment would give us, was that we were able to rank people higher, just because he was not in the room, not because we do not value his contributions, which are way great, which are very very big. But it gave us the opportunity to rank others higher a little bit, other people in the same breakout room than he was, a little higher, just because of it. Again, not because we do not value his contributions. Otherwise, we agreed that if he would have been in the room, he would have ranked level 6. Other than that, we were able to give feedback, as David said, and give a little opinions on why we thought that ranking the people the way we did was a better consensus.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Oscar. I would just remind everyone that you're not supposed to be ranking individual people. You're supposed to be ranking contributions, and Dan, as a member of the fractally team, is representing the contributions of the entire fractally team. So you didn't necessarily move Dan down per se. You kind of disrespected the fractally team a little bit, which is your choice to do in your rooms and stuff. But just to put it in perspective.
What is interesting, this is Gregory, is that this also shows that we value someone's presence. We value their participation. We value them sharing their contributions, so that if we need to ask questions about those contributions, that they are there to address such. So while I, as a member of the Fractally team, don't feel disrespected, I think this is a natural progression and process by which we are all learning what are the values of the community. So thank you all for that. And Oscar, thank you for sharing that insight. Appreciate it.
Pascal.
Yeah, I was also in that same, and I just want to mention that we had a lot of time to ask questions. It was a very positive experience to go into details, ask questions on what people are working on. I really appreciate that too, because like Mark, he working on so many important things, but I cannot evaluate what is working on, you know. So by discussing, sharing, it's helped come to consensus. And then I think it was, yeah, very important to just to discuss what people are working on. So it's helped. Thanks.
Yeah, really cool thing to have feedback on today. Lenny.
Yeah, just a reflection that's been building over a bundle of meetings lately is that before we potentially grow in numbers and similar, it's getting a little bit diluted. What is a fractally effort? There's a lot of concepts which are hard to grasp. We got new fractals being built. How much of effort goes towards fractally, the genesis fractally, and how much else, and what are we going to count as an effort for fractally and similar? Don't have any suggestions. I just want to raise it up there for the team to have a look at and think about. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Lenny. Mike.
Well, I want to say something about what Lenny just said, but I'll start with the thing about ranking someone who isn't there the entire time. And this is just an opinion. I'm going to say it as an opinion. So I'm not going to caveat it beyond this caveat. I think why do we want people to show up? Prove identity, right? We need to have their face on a video to prove identity. That's valuable. We want them to be committed to the process. Aside from that, we're measuring contribution. So in my mind, the contribution can be rated with very little time in the meeting, right? We want to, if you don't value the contribution of someone showing up, they'll not make the effort, I think, to show up for 10 or 15 minutes rather than just not show up. And the contribution was made regardless of whether they're there. So in my mind, it seems like as long as we can fulfill the identity requirement and the capacity to submit a consensus report that's consistent, we should be measuring contribution. That's a not thoroughly thought out idea, again, opinion. And then I lost Lenny's point. Lenny, could you
it was something about dilution and similarly, what is a pure fractal effort, and some are mixed and what is not, etc. Hard one, but something to think about and evaluate.
Yeah, we're here to innovate the process. We're here to try something brand new. And I think while there's so much potential to create communities and to create DAOs for other purposes, and there's going to be a ton of value in that, they're there for that other mission. We're here for this mission. We're here for the process itself and to get the template stamped out for all of those other communities. All of the other communities being focused on whatever they're focused on, they're not going to have their attention on the process and the details that we're learning and ironing out. So I say that's why the mission is the way it is. We're growing adoption. We're experimenting with the process. I can't quote the mission. But that's more what this fractal specifically is about. All right, those are my 2 cents. Thanks, guys.
And piggybacking on that, it's up to us to hold each other accountable to what contributions are even relevant. So people can rattle off a whole list of things that they've done that are not particularly relevant to the mission of this group of people in this and the mission statement. So it's an awkward thing to say sometimes, to say like, yeah, that's great you did that, but it's not particularly relevant to what we're doing here. And that actually leads into my second point, and the point for why I raised my hand. It's actually, I wanted to respond to Doug and Matt's fun that they're having. I think we want to make this process more fun. It's good if people enjoy this process, obviously. I also want to normalize the awkwardness of these meetings a little bit. Part of what I think keeps will keep people coming to this, at least especially in the beginning here when we're proving out the concept, is an understanding of the long-term vision of what we're doing and what we're building, and the way that this process can actually change the world. I just want to say, for people who come out of these meetings and you didn't just have the time of your life and you found it rather awkward to have to rank other people's contributions or your own contributions, I think that's super normal. And it's really normal to feel awkward ranking yourself above others, and all this like social things that we're not used to doing. We're used to just having an objective metric. Okay, they found a proof of work, so they get 5 Bitcoin or whatever. So this is an experiment that has the potential to change the world, and it's something we're not familiar with, and it's not always going to be the most comfortable or most exhilarating thing to do. But I think it's important and necessary, and that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, James. Shacruz?
Yes, I'd like to share 2 reflections. First is that today I realized that I want to go back into other rooms, the other breakout rooms, not mine, and watch what happened in there, like the room with Dan leaving and his father being in that room and all that things happening. I would like to watch that. So the idea, the reflection is that I would like to propose we have it in the UI. In the fractally in the software, so the ability to go back to other rooms. The other thing is that I do have a person in this in the Zoom today that I would like to see how he actually how he has been dealing, how he has been behaving in this room, because I invited that person into the community, and I would like to keep track of what is happening and how it is going on with that person. And that leads me to proposing and making sure that this thing is going to be in the UI. That's the first reflection. And the second reflection is that this week I've been inviting people and discussing fractally and promoting and pitching it. And I realized that sometimes I can pitch it and I can say that this is an advanced version of UBI, the famous universal basic income type of thing. Where you can show up every week on a meeting and you get the respect. And if that respect is as Daniel once mentioned, as hypothetically, it might be $100. And if you get $100 a week for showing up and for voting, that is a UBI. And it's not just a UBI because you have a passport, but as you show up as a person, as a human, you vote, you contribute, you talk. It's all the human features that you have to show up to actually get those $100 and one respect. That is my second reflection. Thank you. And the question is, if maybe somebody from Fractally could respond on my request, whether it's going to be possible to go to other rooms later on and rewatch what was happening in there.
Similar to Eden, right?
Mike, any thoughts on what Shacruz is suggesting with regards to breakout rooms being recorded?
Yeah, we have no plans of doing that at the moment. There is the precedent from Eden, so it isn't something we're against at all. It just isn't part of the current plans. I would say at this point, the most valuable way we could relate to that is feedback of there's more value to videos than simply documentation. There's there's this kind of value, secondhand value, or secondhand's not the right way to say that, but there's other kinds of value to be extracted from videos. So we'll add that to our list of considerations. That's really good feedback.
All right, thank you. Jay?
Thank you for calling on me. I apologize in advance for my stream of consciousness dumps. And so I think, Lenny, that's why people were hesitant to call on me. I also liked how Lenny said Jay's has the dark shade hand, and I'm one of the lightest skin tone persons in the whole group. But I as Doug knows, I like to say the ultimate truths in life are a paradox, is what I found to often become or seem to be true. I went to college 40 years ago, and a lot of times I would not be excited about studying for my courses, so I'd open up the Bible and read scriptures, and I spent a lot of time reading the Proverbs, and one of the Proverbs in the book of Proverbs is a generous man will prosper. And I don't necessarily know what that means, that a generous man will prosper, but it fits, I think, into the context of us trying to rank, rate, value, or attribute respect to each other. How it applies, I'm not yet sure, but I think it's just a general principle that we may want to just be aware of, that there's a proverb out there about generosity. I do have one theory about it, so I'll probably, if I start going too long, cut me off. But last week, or I think it may have been last week, Lenny and I were in the same group, and we were in a tie. People were voting, should we rank Lenny or Jay higher? And then Lenny goes, I would like to appoint Jay, who's a lawyer, to be my advocate, and Lenny's a politician. He's a civil servant. I talk about laugh out loud funny. What does this mean about a civil servant who's supposed to be a civil servant? He should have said, I'll just take the lower rank, but instead he appoints a lawyer to advocate on his behalf. By the way, I think I did a good job because Lenny was ranked higher than I was. And a lawyer is supposed to be, as a member of the bar, able to provide services in the form of good, wise, reliable legal advice, and even to sometimes be an advocate where I could potentially be a spokesperson for Lenny in a certain context. So apparently Dan did not have a good advocate in his group today, but I thought that was funny, and relevant to the ranking of each other. And generosity might be a key. I did want to just touch on that. And Shacruz said universal basic income, $100 a week. To me, if we get that far, that would be a beautiful result for the fractally accomplishing of our goals. If that actually comes to fruition, that'd be wonderful. I thought about this in my breakout room, that there's it's arguably an historical account of God providing food for his people, quote, his people at that time, in the form of manna from heaven. And so this is also in my all-nighters where I'm supposed to be studying 40 years ago. I read the stories in the Old Testament, or the historical accounts, some of them in the Old Testament. And then there's all of a sudden there's this verse in scripture that says, and the people could only gather the manna one day at a time. And then there's this statement that says, those who gathered much did not have too much, and those who gathered little did not have too little. And to me, that was a mind-blowing, like, that doesn't make any sense, because if you gathered more, you have more. If you gathered little, you have little. And so it's like, unless the people cared about each other and gave out of their own generosity and helpfulness to their neighbors and the communities and the elderly or the less able-bodied, and so it worked together as a community. And so in that sense, maybe a generous man will prosper, that one element of respect is, well, this person's indispensable because he or she is so kind-hearted and generous that that person really adds value, and sometimes tangible food value, to the community. And so that would be one aspect of something that's worthy of respect. That's it. Thanks.
I got some good laughs out of that one, Jay. Thank you. Just going on my list here in the participants, we'll go to Jason next.
Good. I get to talk before Mike because I'm going to refute what he said and I'm going to use his own words to do it. Just so you all know, Mike's a friend of mine and we joke with each other like this all the time. So two things Mike said were that I agree with on both points, is that we're here to develop this process and we're here to get clarified about how to develop the process, and we're here to support the mission. Totally down with all that stuff. Also totally down with some other stuff that he said about Dan's contributions and Dan's contributions. I think he said being representative of the whole fractally team, and the technical contributions and community contributions being the primary thing we're here to value. Totally down with that as well. But there's a kind of a contradiction in here in that the lack of participation in the deliberation removes some of the value of working out this process. And so only participating in a small portion of this meeting removes some of the value contributed. Now, how that value is rated compared to all of the other things contributed is another story. And I'm not speaking to the relative value of those two things, but what didn't get said in what Mike said is that our butts in chairs in front of these cameras having these discussions, even if they're a little messy sometimes, and sometimes especially when they're a little messy, is a huge valuable contribution to this whole process. And I don't think that came out in what Mike said. And luckily, Mike looks to me to be near to the top of the list of the next people to talk. So he can now completely refute and demoralize me if he wants.
Well, James,
thanks for the pig, Mike. Good job.
Yeah, James instituted the piggyback thing. So this could be a moment to use that if you want to dive in.
I thought
Mike.
that was a personal insult. It was just piggyback. Oh, that's Mark. Oh my God, I mixed up Mike and Mark.
I'm completely innocent here. I'm not saying anything negative. No, you're totally right. You're totally right, and it's a really good point. That I completely accept it immediately. It makes a lot of sense.
Wow. All right, cool. I gotta clean my glasses or something. Go ahead, Mark. You can rip me one too. I don't mind. It's all in fun.
That's great. Yeah, I had heard what Mike had said, and I put it in the chat, my response, and I heard what James Mark said shortly after, and I did put that in the chat just now as well, because I wanted to do a quick 1-2 response like everyone seems to be doing on these good points. But with Mike, I summarize, say, the essentials of the breakout room. 1, introducing yourself or identity. 2, short, medium, and long-term contributions. And 3, consensus. That second one, all the contributions could just be a PowerPoint slide and walk away. So you come over there, you say, hi, everybody, how's it going? Boom, PowerPoint slide, and you're gone. But you're not there for number 3, consensus, which actually is what happened with Dan's room today. It's pretty interesting. And we can chip away at the fundamentals so that we basically get simple rules as the most resilient, as the way Dan put it about an hour ago. The simpler the rules, the more resilient the whole system is. But to James Mark's point, consensus is uncomfortable, or he used the word awkward. And I've coined the term the dark side of consensus, is how I used to say nobody really tends to like how the sausage is made. But we're seeing that in these breakout rooms. So when it gets awkward, this is where the value just spikes. I mean, really, really spikes. We don't know how valuable it is, but if we kind of crack the code on consensus, I think that there's an enormous treasure. So James Mark's point, awkward, or the idea of dark side of consensus, or drama might be what bring people here or make this interesting or quote fun. This all is an integral piece of the fun that Douglas Wu brought up originally in his comment. So that's to James Mark's point. The consensus uncomfortability reveals the entry point for very, 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 very valuable progress. Okay, so that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. You're up next, Felix. Real quick before you go, I want to just throw out piggyback real quick that in considering how things are being done with the UI, and I assume this is already being planned on, but Dan left early today. What if somebody arrives late? Is that even a possibility for them to arrive late in terms of the way the UI functions? And you kind of have the reverse issue where, you know, they weren't there for the whole meeting, but they did try to show up. Go ahead, Felix. Your audio is really faint for some reason.
Can you hear me? Is it better now? Or?
It's still a little bit faint.
Let's see.
Definitely the wrong audio source.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
I think it's not
Yeah,
using
there
your
you
head.
go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there was a lot of different points, I guess. I guess the one that I rose my hand for, though, was to kind of, I guess, share my perspective of what I see going on with the Eden fractal, with what Lenny brought up about knowing what to rank as, like, what contributions to rank higher. So over on the Eden fractal, we're kind of running into that same issue. I mean, we just started, but you know, that was some questions that arose, was like, well, what are we valuing? Are we valuing contributions on EOS? Are we valuing contributions for spreading, you know, the fractally process, contributions on Eden? And so I've kind of proposed the idea, and here with this fractally, or this fractal Genesis fractal, it's kind of led through the, you know, Fractally LLC and the initiative to build out the software. And so in that sense, they kind of can guide where we value, what values or what contributions we value more based off kind of where they want to steer us. But, you know, there's some things though too that's popped up, like, you know, we see value of being able to go and see these breakout rooms or see other breakout rooms if the recordings are available. So, you know, I think it would be kind of, I mean, this is, I guess, kind of just throwing this idea out there, is if we can, as this group here, come up with a list of things that we consider as, like, we collectively would value higher. So, like, you know, if people are recording their breakout rooms and posting it, and, you know, that's a way that we can measure a contribution towards the fractal. You know, bringing in new people, that's been kind of always since the beginning, one of the big things that we value also. But I think it would be interesting though, is every week if we kind of have like an overall, like, what direction are we, or what initiatives do we want to start to value a little bit more, just to kind of give everybody a chance to know, like, okay, well, if I'm wanting to, like, bring more contributions, like, you know, you can contribute, but if it's not really valued as highly because it's not the direction that the fractal is wanting to go, I think it would just be nice to have a little bit of direction. So I guess I'm just kind of throwing this idea out there of, like, suggesting initiatives, and kind of collectively reaching an agreement within, you know, this fractal of what do we see as the more valuable contributions, even though there's a lot of contributions that we can bring, but which ones should we be, you know, kind of respecting a little higher. So, you know, I don't know, I guess people have an idea of, you know, if they're really wanting to kind of try to contribute, but bring valuable contributions, and they can have a gauge of knowing what this fractal values higher. If any of that makes sense. I'm just kind of brainstorming some ideas and sharing kind of what I've learned from the Eden fractal, also to address what Lenny was saying. But yeah.
Thank you, Felix. This is but one of, we hope, many fractals. And each fractal, whether it's about the fractally process, whether it's about creating some other public good, an energy farm, some journalism, something educational, there will be many fractals, and there will be many derivatives of existing fractals that will come forth. And so while no fractal will resonate with everyone, there will be a fractal out there for everyone, or for those that want to create a fractal and share and contribute a specific set of contributions. So we realize that this is the first fractal. It can feel constrained in those particular senses. perhaps recording some of the breakout rooms would help in understanding what people are valuing, and for people to be able to witness and watch what happened in other breakout rooms, what did people value, would give people a better sense of that. We do have the mission statement. It does stand as a initial path forward with regards to those things that the fractal was designed to progress on. But again, via council, via proposals, these things can change too. But thank you for the thought process. For us on the fractal team, it is a learning process. And you'll note from the first meeting that we started to where we are today, we've made adjustments and as such, as a result of the feedback that we're getting from the community. So keep that feedback coming. We look forward to continuing to improve this process. This is our community, that is yours, the Fractally teams, and a growing community of people who will continue to contribute. So all of us can make a difference.
Thank you, Gregory. Fabrice?
Yes, thank you very much, Joshua. I mean, just jumping in, I didn't participate in the two last meeting, but just a few comments. You know, I'm also coming from a background different from everything iOS, Eden, and all those crypto and so tech. But I have a perception that, you know, maybe we are kind of turning around to 2 points. From what I read, you know, regarding the white paper and everything, you know, the currency here is an opinion. Right? You know, a respect is not perfect. I mean, we need to accept that in a certain way. And I feel like we are trying to turn it around something that should be perfect. It's an opinion. We are getting together 6 people, and then, you know, everybody gives his opinion on what's going on. And I think that's the nature of what we want to move forward. But I feel like if we are now kind of tweaking it so that it will become like a respect is perfect, then maybe we'll be losing the ground. Because like I heard earlier, you know, every fractal will have his own mission, his own passion. And therefore, I think the balance is around, you know, it's an opinion. It cannot be perfect. And what I'm hearing also regarding maybe the case that I've been discussing regarding the case on Dan group, I mean, there were 6 people. You just need to not agree on the consensus and everything. I think that's the mechanism. You know, you're not, you don't agree with the consensus, then, you know, everything fall apart. And then next round, you move. I feel like we are now turning maybe, and maybe it's just a perfection in an opinion once again. And what I appreciate from the beginning is really the fact that, you know, at the beginning, it's all about having an opinion, 6 people getting together and discussing and getting a consensus. If you agree, you move forward. If you not agree, there's a mechanism around to kind of, you know, adjust it. And the second point, what I feel it very special is that you know, that need to see what's going on in another consensus in another group. I feel it's also losing that nature of that it have to be imperfect in a certain way. You know, you cannot stick around, and you need to trust the group, you need to trust the community, you need to trust that, you know, you are building a community and people, you know, that they will behave in a certain way, and trust the fact that those people in the other group are also giving their opinion, and trust that. So for me, the idea of getting inside every room could even kill the whole purpose of, you know, changing the way everything is governed, you know, because now you're starting to want it to influence, know what was the opinion. It's not the opinion of one person. So I feel like, you know, maybe we should be also careful regarding, you know, do we want it to be perfect, or do we want it to be an opinion and trust the fact that those 6 people, you know, are trustable on what they are appreciating or not? So that was a bit my perspective regarding the whole discussion, that, you know, by the end of the day, it's all about changing, you know, the fact that we need to trust everyone, every group needs to trust everyone, and all what we are doing here, the currency is an opinion. Is not a perfection, and we need to, you know, also agree on the fact that, I mean, that was maybe my view on the beauty of what we are doing is also its imperfection. And I hope that We are not going now that we are pushing the technology, trying to tweak it so perfect with new feature, and then we lose the ground. So, I mean, it was just maybe an opinion that I wanted to flag regarding how things are moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Fabrice. Matt.
Thanks, Josh. I want to address some of the things Fabrice was saying and tie together Shacruz's original idea and some of the things Jay was saying. I like Shacruz's idea. I like the ability to go back and review other rooms. I think that has two main benefits. One is educational. It lets me go and study how top level contributors are conducting themselves. And what not only their contribution, but the reason we're coming together is, we're trying to save ourselves, and we've decided as we do this in person. We look each other in the eye. We're tender with one another, right? There's something that's, I could put my contributions on a Keynote list and just email them and never show my face. And there's some value in that, but there's a lot more value in you getting to know me getting to know you, me asking you questions, me get to know you as a human. There's something really special about that, and watching the interactions of people would help me. I would watch them if we had them. I think another important thing it would do is tying back to Jay's generosity concept. Being able to go back, I would like to go back and look at rooms that I wasn't in and look for the new people and listen to what they had to say, and kind of, as someone more experienced, kind of hone in on how could I help them, right? Where do I think I can see them fitting in? I suspect that if I focused on new people over a couple of weeks and I brought that to you as my contribution, like I onboarded this person, I helped them contribute, I helped them write this blog post, but they're the author, right? If I did those things, I suspect you would value my contribution in helping others. So it also lets us demonstrate, be a good example to other people and our fellows of how we conduct ourselves, how we roll, and how we focus on new people and bring them in and set them up for success. The more I help you succeed, to Jay's proverb, the more generous I am, the more, the better it is for me and for everybody else. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Matt. Before we move on to Jorge, just want to mention, if Daniel has a username now, just make sure you give it to the other people in your group. And this is kind of being talked about in the chat here, because we do have a time limit for consensus. Go ahead, Jorge. Got to unmute yourself. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Hello, guys, everyone.
Hey.
I'm very honored to be here again. And I wanted to point out several points. The first is about this awkwardness of reaching consensus. And the group I was today, the breakout room I was, the contributions were so high quality that I didn't really feel good in the position I ended up. I didn't really feel good about being above some other people, nor I did feel good about being below other people. And that's one point. And the second point is, some members have mentioned the possibility of many fractals arising from this protocol, and that's true. But then if you connect those 2 points, you have these awkwardness at the moment of finding consensus, and you have several fractals arising, then I think we will naturally have a competition between different protocols of finding and discovering value. So these protocols, this competition will aim, I guess, to reduce this awkwardness, to be more, they will aim to be more precise, more accurate at the moment of finding value. So, for example, I've been in breakout rooms where 3 members out of 6 rank themselves as highest. And only one of them will be the one who gets that point. But because of that, the other members will rank themselves as the second highest. And the way I see it, that's removing thought processing from those members to actually think about other people. So tying together all these points, I'll suggest that we consider seriously abstaining ourselves from ranking us at any given moment of the process. Yeah, I wanted to drop that idea.
Thank you, Jorge. David.
Thank you. I wanted to give another context to the group that Dan was in, and there was actually a situation someone came in a little bit late, to give that other end of the spectrum. But this was still in the kind of everyone shuffling in, and he was part in the awkward phase, as we kind of got to know it now, when the whole gear started grinding and the consensus was getting reached by taking hard looks at things and asking questions and discussing. So for me, that did not even enter my thinking about scoring this in, because that person was completely there for the part that was important to me. I've been 3 times in these breakout rooms. I've been on and off, so I kept my freshness and being new to this process kind of all the time. So I see myself as an observer, so I'm very focused on the process itself, and I did not have the impression that this impacted the process at all, being like 5 minutes in. So yeah, I wanted to give that context because it came up, someone mentioned that before. What about if someone is a bit late? I don't think it affects the process in general.
Yeah, thank you, David. Eric.
Yeah, this is only my 3rd time, and I think even though we all have different individual things we might value more than others, I think having a value model or look at different value models is useful. So the first time I was here 3 weeks ago, I just kind of listened and said, wow, how do I choose this? The second time I started trying to find some connectivity, some connections, commonalities, and this time I tried out, and I'm not saying this is the right way and it'll probably evolve, but just having a value model I think is important. The one I used is 3 things. The first thing is, what did somebody does that's having an immediate impact to running Fractal itself? Did they come up with a new interface? Did they do a design, something like that? The second one is, what's being done to spread the communication of Fractal? Did you share it? Did you translate a book? Did you do something to get the word out? And the third is trickier, but who invested time in long-term efforts that may or may not pan out? I think it's important to say not just today, but the future. So I'm open to seeing and hearing other people's value models, but that's just an example of a quick tour I did in 3 weeks to come up with at least something to start.
Also, when you shared your contributions, Eric, you also broke those into 3 categories: learning, sharing, and doing, which was pretty cool. And you kind of let us get to know you in the process of doing that, the way that you wove it together. I thought you did a great job. Jay.
Thank you. I agree. And Eric, I was in your group also. It was really fun to get to know you, and you're very well spoken, articulate, and going to be infinitely valuable to Fractally. And so I'm really happy to see you as 3 weeks in a row. Keep it going. That's awesome. I did want to just, in the words of Jen Psaki, circle back to my concerns about, because everyone who knows me goes, wow, that Jay, first he won't talk and then he won't shut up. But, and I realized that, I mean, it's almost outrageous to say, oh, we need to start planning for our success. We don't even have a test net running yet. And so I'm cognizant of that. but at the same time, when I look at, and also lawyers are notorious for not being good business people. And it's difficult for me to project what the potential, not just value of each other for ranking, but what's the potential economic value of owning a lot of respect tokens. And that's, I'm unable to comprehend what that could look like, mapping it forward. But it could be extremely valuable if this took off and became a viral success. And so for that reason, and now this is where I'm connecting back to my point, if you look at Fibonacci as a mechanism to reward tokens out of respect for each other, then those numbers could potentially be ginormous. And so we could even have a big economic impact on our respective local communities, for example. And if there are persons who are, this is the phrase, killing it, a screaming success, and if somebody starts to achieve the number 6, and then he's getting a string of 6s over time, even over a period of years, that the wealth that's represented by that success, if fractally succeeds, could become a topic of envy, jealousy, and outrageous criticism of this is the worst model that we've ever seen. And so now here's a way that we could potentially choose to plan for success going forward, is that we could build in a suggested opt-in social welfare system, so that we could have a trust account that is designated, and have to itself be a huge project, but that the successful people who are participating in Fractally could opt in to, say, I give 10% off. I'm so wealthy now that I want to have a green box on my profile that says I'm a 10%er club of participating in the social welfare program, so that your respect tokens get distributed to our trust account social welfare program, so that we can, so they could be administered to take care of the disabled, the elderly, the hospitalized, et cetera. And that, and so, because, if you think about it, if we're creating a monetary system and good governance, that we may want to take lessons, learn our lessons, from history, and social welfare programs are an important part of any civil society. So that's for the Mike Manfredis who are, looks up, if he's still here. I know Mike's already thought of this, but I'm giving a +1 vote to suggest that our architecture provide from the get-go an opt-in system. And I say this because I want us, even though we're not there yet, I want us to plan for our success. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. And Mike is up next.
All right. First off, Jorge, can you update your vote from the room? We now have Danielle. Danielle has an account now. Doug, actually, if you want to repost the consensus report with the updated name, Jorge, you can just grab it out of the chat. I'll actually address what Jay just said at the end of this point, because it ties in perfectly. The earlier point about reducing friction, there will be many fractals, and one of the things that could happen very well in those fractals is it can be a more comfortable experience. That's absolutely one of the outcomes I expect. Just be really clear that what's comfortable may not be effective. I would go as far as to say, I would imagine what's most comfortable will not be effective. So what's exciting and very uncomfortable about a free market of fractals is we get to run these experiments. We get to have the comfort, honor everyone fractal, and we see how effective that is. And we have we don't care how you feel, vote, a particular way, follow our rules fractal. And then we've got a whole bunch of stuff in between, right? This really will be a free market of what is the optimal process. And there is no optimal, right? So what are sets of processes that in the process space, which versions will work well? And it's something that this has been a soapbox of mine in the past, so I'll share just a quick idea of it. Our world is full of political experiments that we got stuck with. Some person, to use a really nice generic word, set up a political experiment in a country, locked that population into that experiment, and then time has passed. And every once in a while we can reset one of those, but it's very infrequent. Fractals are an opportunity to run whatever experiment you want, and you'll get the outcome. Only that community will feel the consequences of that experiment, and that experiment can go away if it doesn't work, and it can thrive if it does work. It is the most amazing social experiment, political experiment, and technology for running those experiments and confining the consequence, let's say, to filter the first 4 words that went through my mind. It's just such a cool tool for running those experiments. And so now to Jay's point, James and I now together are partnering very much on what is the minimal set. We don't want to prescribe. There's just no reason to. Any single thing we prescribe is going to get in someone's way who could run an experiment that we think wouldn't be effective. But what if it is? I don't want to get in the way of people running experiments. And I don't want to prescribe what people should be doing. There will be, just like there will be comfortable fractals and uncomfortable fractals and effective fractals and ineffective fractals, there'll be fractals that have charity built in and those that don't. And some of those will thrive and some of those won't. I love the experimentation, and we're trying to build a tool that allows all of that experimentation. And we're gonna try to just get out of the way. Thanks, guys.
So then, Mike, if I understood you correctly, that the design infrastructure for fractally, for the fractal groups that are founder of fractals and they want to have a startup, the tooling would be in place to allow for a charitable contribution that could be earmarked off the top for those earning respect tokens?
The tools, the framework to build such a thing, to build such a tool will absolutely be there. Right? That's just, you're just talking about a smart contract, an app, or a modification of the contract. That kind of flexibility is easily addable to any fractal.
Okay. Yeah, and there's you know, as we build out the, you know, because part of this is communicating what good governance looks like, and I'm sure that my greed levels are just as high as anybody else's. So, oh, look at the Fibonacci sequence. You know, I wonder what that would look like if I'm successful in this new economy of rewarding currency alternatives. I mean, it's a pretty it's, you know, it's a novel idea. It's, you know, I like the idea of running an algorithm that can, even though there's human investment weekly to reach a consensus, that that I think it may be wise, and this is I think the point that I was trying to make. I want our architects to consider as a foundation layer building a hedge against success. And that doesn't mean, but like I say, it's what's wild is it may require, because we're human beings, that it allows generous people to opt in. And so it's a hedge, it's opt-in, it's optional, but it's built into the foundation of the framework, because we know that if we succeed, we're going to create wealthy people who need, even if it's a green check mark, you know, it's like, here's a 10%, you know, it's an incentive, just like competition, bringing people together to reach a consensus is an incentive for human beings to work well together. We may want to build an incentive for us to have a hedge against excessive wealth creation. And I say that as chief among greedy persons, but I did want to just put it, you know, like you know, and I realize that, you know, a smart contract can be created to do anything. You can code anything, period, end of story. But we may want to design a mechanism that is kind of an implied hedge against success. It's opt-in, but it allows you to agree to bike lanes, because if we start driving cars and bicycles on highways, we need to be able to create a system where we can stay within our bike lane. Otherwise, we could end up hurting ourselves and others. Thanks.
Yeah, I got the suggestion and the sentiment, Jay. And I'll give a potentially more poignant response than I need to at this point. But I think it's important to say millennia of charity has existed prior to anything we're building. It is built into human beings, and charity was naturally expressed almost exclusively privately just 70 years ago. So all of those ideas, I encourage you to run the experiment. I encourage fractals to spin up that gamify stuff and incentivize stuff and make stuff. I encourage people to run fractals that have rules that you can't opt out of, just because none of us know what the right answer is. The core platform, though, should be as unopinionated as possible. It's James, what's your credibility? Neutral credibility? Credible neutrality.
Yep.
Did I get it?
Credible neutrality.
Credible neutrality. We're going for credible neutrality.
Not my idea, by the way. That's not James's idea, but you might hear me say that pretty often.
Well, I respect you for bringing the concept to us.
Well, James, while you're there, do you want to go ahead since you had your hand up?
I took it down real quick. You have sharp eyes. You saw it up there for about 1 second. I guess I'll just quickly say something. I just wanted to comment on the distribution of respect tokens, and that it follows it follows the Fibonacci sequence, which is a form of Pareto distribution. Something that I guess bears repeating is that the distribution of respect tokens is intended to mirror the way that respect naturally accrues between persons in real communities. It happens to be the case observationally, so descriptively, not prescriptively, that there are overachievers. There are people who tend to produce the most value in any community, and so it tends to be that the amount of employees at a company, like 10% of the employees at a company are actually contributing 90% of the value, or 20/80, or some very steep curve, something like that. And so if you were to allow for a pure free market mapping between the effort that people put in and the amount of rewards that were distributed to them, you would expect to see quite a steep Pareto curve. Fibonacci is also a Pareto curve, but it's slightly softer than the observed curves that you find in traditional corporate structures. So in a way, it's like it's building a slight, you could say, social safety net in the fact that it softens the Pareto curve. And it's not just, that's not the only point of the Pareto or of the Fibonacci sequence, and why the Fibonacci sequence is used. That's part of it. And then there's also, if you read the white paper, the ratio between the top ranked person and the set of people underneath is an important ratio, and the ratio even between people in a group. Those ratios are important for people feeling comfortable ranking people above or below them. It's like a boon to the ability to reach consensus if you have that ratio or something close to that ratio. So that's a point on the Fibonacci sequence. And I guess that's all I'll say for now. Marco, you can go ahead.
This is on 2 points real quick, and both involve having options. As a pilot, and even before I learned to land an aircraft, I never saw the world linearly the way most people learn to drive. Now, the first point is on the what Jorge said about not voting for yourself to force you to think of others' contributions. I believe that I didn't start that. That was something that somebody brought up in one of my groups a couple of months ago that resonated with me. And I believe it should be an option maybe in the UI that everybody could vote on if that's what it wants, because it's important for you to stand behind your work, stand behind what you contribute. The warrior spirit is important in leadership, important in innovation. But then again, thinking of the contributions of others, you can't move forward if you don't. So I believe an option on that, not voting for yourself would be nice in the UI. I don't really lean either way, depending on the situation. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And again, whoever's idea was, be nice to know that. The other thing is what has been on the topics of the past few speakers, and again deals with options. An architect having giving part of the architecture of fractally is, as someone alluded to or said, not so many words, is smart for survival. There's evidence besides there's evidence that goes as far as movies, like building and then near a rail station. Residential neighborhoods tend to build up their rail stations because of money, more so the storehouse of goods and old construction before we had modern infrastructure. And hearing the rail go by at 3 a.m. is not something that people plan on. More than that, if you live in the Northeast, what you see, and I'm sure throughout America and other parts of the world to a lesser degree, you see these walls built on highways. Those walls built on highways are for the sole purpose of reducing sound. Some of these are high-end communities, and some of these walls are pretty big and quite resilient. So it's not something that, the more you innovate and the more you outpace regular communities, going from, say, high performance cars, large engine motorcycles that can be heard from miles away, and then to even airplanes, you stop seeing the impact you're making on the world. So yes, giving is part of it. But the other part is, what have you done when you look back? And not having to have that in your mind, looking back, because it's built into the architect of how you innovate, how you work, is a big deal for the potential in the future and remaining a leader in what you do. Anyway, I can go on more on that, especially looking at it from an aviation point of view, general aviation, not an airline point of view. But yeah, it's both a giving and a means for survival.
Yeah, thank you, Marco, for that perspective. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Oh, before we jump off, Jordan's got his hand up. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to touch on the point people were making about not ranking yourself, because I think it's a really interesting idea. And I want to encourage us to figure out the most effective ways to record the data that the sort of textual data that we're using during in order to come to consensus, and whether or not, for example, you do the system where you rank, you include yourself in ranking or not. The more data that we have on this stuff, the better. And I mean, we can also make simulations of it, but I think, you know, we should try these things and get like data that tells us what the impacts are. We don't need to just theorize and go with only theories.
Jorge.
Yeah, guys, I did a post on Hive, which I published on the Go Fractally website. And I, in this post, attempted to choose certain psychological traits for individuals. And each trait has a value between 0 and 1, which allows us to characterize it as a probability. And one of those traits was sincerity. So each individual was assigned a sincerity level between 0 and 1. And then I tried to propose a probability distribution for that parameter. And of all the parameters, this sincerity parameter was the one that added the most noise to the system. And in these complex systems, as Fractally is, we really want to reduce noise because little variations in complex systems can have huge implications in the long term. So you guys can take a look at my post and see how it's not a mathematical proof, but it's somehow a mathematical justification. It's not just opinion on why we should, in order to reduce the noise from the system, eliminate the weight that sincerity has on it. And that can be achieved by many measures, one of them being prevent people from ranking themselves.
Can I quickly ask, what is the impact of the sincerity feature on the decisions or behavior of the model? Like, how does it fit into the equation or something?
Yeah, for example, I had 3 parameters, one of them being knowledge about the system, other being computational power. The product of those 2 parameters, I mean the multiplication of them, gives a measure of judgment. But if you multiply those 2 parameters times sincerity, then the whole product becomes really noisy. Because you can have people which is very knowledgeable, very capable, and if they happen to be unsincere, then their contribution to the system can be negative. So that's how I incorporate those things.
You'll have to dig into that deeper. It sounds interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I put a link to your. It's kind of like it's a snippet that you posted. If you follow the link that I put to Jorge's post in the Go Fractally site, and then there's a link to the actual full post on Hive. But you can show them some love in both places if you want. There was a few posts that I wanted to feature today, some recent posts from everyone, but just in the essence of time, I think I'll just mention. I encourage you to just kind of look through there at least once a week and see what new things have been posted and kind of keep up with the contributions. At least once a week, there's 1 or 2 really good posts from the members, very thought-provoking. So if you're not doing that, it would be worthwhile. So I think that's going to do it for this week. Appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate those of you, most of you have been really generous with your time. You know, we still have a lot of participants on the live meeting with us. Today, we're going to wrap it up a little bit earlier in terms of like post meeting and things like that, but open to, you know, technically, if you want to, you could start another Zoom link and people could hop on with you if you want to do a longer post meeting thing, like a little more of a party. And anything anyone wants to say in closing? While I get my little outro video here.
I have something in closing. I'm testing out Jitsi, which is an open source it's like Zoom type thing, and I signed up for their free plan, and I have a little experiment that I'm running that if anyone wants to see if it works, it'll handle up to 25 people. But the quality in it was pretty good, and I'm trying to figure out if I can run an Avatari by Python overlay through it, just screwing around. So if anyone wants to join, they're welcome to.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. That's cool, playing around with these alternative video solutions.
Well, I just see what the limitations are and what kind of features they have, because I'm like specking out all of ideas and processes that I'd like to see happen. I'm talking to Dwayne also about different kind of gaming applications and avatars and 3D modeling, and we got a lot of really creative, interesting ideas going on, but nothing that deserves a presentation to a larger group. But just playing with the tools is always where I'm where I love to be, just learning, pushing the envelope.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for mentioning that. All right. Well, you guys have a really good rest of your day, a great weekend, and we'll see you here next week, and looking forward to interacting with you maybe a little bit during the week, in our different channels that we have for interacting with each other.
Recording